Welcome to the latest Motley Fool scoreboard. I'm Anand Chakavalou. We've got longtime fools Travis Hoyam and Jose Najarro giving a 1 to 10 rating to software collaboration company GitLab, ticker symbol GTLB. We'll rate the strength of GitLab's business, including factors like industry and competition. A 10 is invincible. A 1 is hopeless. Travis is at a 5. Jose, you're rosier at a 7.
Yeah, I give GitLab a 7. It sits at the heart of DevSecOps. And for those that are not familiar, this is a software platform that pretty much exactly within its name, you kind of use throughout the whole life of software development, the security, and the operations of this software tool. So it's an all-in-one platform, 27% year-over-year revenue growth in Q1 fiscal year 2026, and a sticky 120 plus net dollar retention rate, proof that customers expand once they land. It also has rapid rollout of AI features that are increasing its overall AI encoding solutions, which deepen the moat little by little. Yet it still battles deep pocket rivals like GitHub, Atlassian, and a swarm of AI native IDE startups that I'm pretty sure Travis is going to talk about in a bit. Regardless, I do see some strength, and for that reason, I'm giving it a 7.
Yeah, I hear a lot about Cursors, the one that is the startup, $9.9 billion valuation at their most recent round. Fast growing. You'll have Alphabet recently buying Windsurf. It seems like everybody wants to get into this space, sort of this AI powered software development space. And so then I got to look at how big is GitLab's moat. And I just don't see a lot of moat in their financials. You know, if this was a company generating 30% net income margins, like some of the companies we talked about recently, that might be a different story. But if you don't have that moat as everybody's kind of coming after the core and likely to land and expand again with more AI native tools, that makes me a little bit nervous for the business.
Yeah, just as someone who can't code, I've heard of Cursor, and that's something I've been meaning to play around with. No way am I playing around with GitLab.
Vibe coding. I want to see that.
Right? For management, a 10 is Warren Buffett, a 1 is Homer Simpson. Both of you have 6s, Jose.
Yeah, I think we both have 6 for similar reasons. There was recently a leadership transition, which is a real risk, especially during this whole AI innovation craze. So in late December of 2024, there was a new CEO, Bill Staples, that joined. Luckily, he does come with prior experience of a software-based company. He was the ex-president at New Relic, which is another kind of software-based company. And the founder is still part of the executive chair of the company. So there is some hope there with leadership, but with the new transition, it does kind of come with some risk. The great thing about Staples is that he does bring that kind of SaaS scale-up chops, and it kind of reminds me a little bit of what Snow did about a year ago, where one of the CEOs stepped down, where the new CEO was more focused on the aggressive growth story. And maybe that's what we're going to see here with GitLab, but it's still too early to tell.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to just give it a to be determined because that was, a pretty big shakeup. Sounds like, Sid, I'm not going to butcher his last name, the co-founder who stepped down, may have been for health reasons. But, until we see more and how this strategy plays out, especially with all this potential disruption coming from the startup space, I don't want to go too high or too low. So 6 is kind of punting, but really the answer is TBD.
For financials, a 10 is a fortress, a 1 is yikes. Travis is at a 4. Jose, you're reading these balance sheets and whatnot a little better or a little higher at a 7.
Yeah, so I'm going to give it a 7. I mean, we did see that strong revenue growth on a Q1 basis, which I talked about in the intro. Gross margins as a software company, they're still hitting around that 89%. Now, if you look at non-GAAP, which obviously maybe we might get I might get made fun of, but non-GAAP operating margins were 12%. I do like the $1.1 billion in cash, 0 debt at the moment, which gives it a breathing room. That's what I like right now in this AI story, some breathing room for us to see that AI story play out. Free cash flow is positive at $100 million, but we are still at a loss on GAAP basis. So I'm giving it a 7.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm just, feeling a little bit more negative today, but went with a 4. You do have that good balance sheet. Like Jose said, the problem is you start looking at the operating margins and their spend. Negative operating margins, not the kind of thing that I want to have in what should be a pretty established business at this point. and they spend an incredible 72% of revenue on SG&A, sales, general, and administrative. A lot of that is just simply sales. That really makes me nervous. That tells me that there's not a lot of pull. It's a lot of push for your product in the market. So if the numbers were telling a different story, then I would go higher, but just can't right now.
Travis, let's move on to valuation. How well will GitLab stock do over the next 5 years, and how safe is it? 10's a sure thing, 1's a lottery ticket.
Again, I'm just kind of feeling bearish maybe today. I have negative return expectations and a safety score of 5. Not profitable. I mentioned that negative operating margin, lots of competition with more competition coming. By the way, deep pocketed competition. And the stock is pretty expensive at 8 times sales. So not one that I would have high expectations for.
Yeah, and I don't know if I'm the opposite of Travis today, if I'm really getting fed this AI story for massive innovation. So I'm going to give it a 5-year return of 10 to 15%, but it does come with a very low safety score of 4. I like Travis mentioned, it does kind of trade on a little bit of the pricier side. It's still cheaper though than many of the high growth SaaS that we see out there, but a lot of those high growth SaaS are profitable, while GitLab is not. And like Travis mentioned, competition is fierce. But if AI monetization sticks, and that's a big if, mid-teen returns are, in my opinion, very possible. Unfortunately, if they miss the mark, multiple compressions could bite, and that's why I kind of gave that safety score of 4.
Let's move on to everyone's favorite topic. Travis, is there a company in GitLab space you like better?
There's not really, without staying in the kind of Mag 7 category. I know that's kind of a punt, but I just think this is such a competitive space that I want to have companies with, big balance sheets that can just throw money. Look, companies are throwing money after AI talent. If this is an AI story, they're just not going to be able to keep up with some of the big checks that big companies like Alphabet and Meta are doling out. So, I mean, Alphabet would be my pick, but if I'm going outside the Mag 7, then no, there's not really anybody that I love in this space.
Yeah, and for me, when I look at GitLab, this is one of those high growth, high risk reward plays. So anything around that, no, in forms of better. But if I want to throw another kind of development tool, that would be Unity Software. While it is kind of a completely different market that focuses more in the gaming aspect, the overall full suite, it has a very similar style as GitLab, and it is also interesting in my opinion right now.
Thanks to both Jose and Travis. They've given GitLab a low overall score of 5.3 out of 10, with low scores pretty much all around. Look out for a new scoreboard every market day at 7 p.m. Eastern. Next up is Zscaler. Till then, Fool on. In anticipation of Happy Gilmore 2, I almost did the Shooter McGavin just from watching it too much.